Hello, chat. How we all doing? For context, this is not going to be a part two of Friday. Friday stream, basically everything I said previously on Friday stream does not matter. Okay. Okay, hello. Hope you all are well. Also, Wendy Pasta, thank you for the resub for 14 months. I appreciate that. And also thank you to all the stream streaks. Thank you for that, chat. Interesting. Yes. Yeah. Because I'm going to say this now. For those who don't know what happened, I basically messed up. I royally messed up. If you haven't seen Tumblr, I caused by accident a lot of discourse in the fandom space. Also, Intari, thank you for the resub for 17 months. I appreciate it. Or 29 months in total. But thank you for that. I caused a lot of discourse in the fandom space. I wouldn't say royal. I would consider it royally. I personally consider it royally, just because new to stuff, and I should have done more research in that. And so I wanted to take accountability for my own actions, and I stated that on Tumblr. So over the weekend, and for the past over roughly 48 hours, I've done a lot of research into the fandom space. I've done a lot more research into the fandom space, and my goodness, it's a rabbit hole. It's a massive, massive rabbit hole that keeps on going and spreading into different things. Where'd you mess up though? I'll get into that. So I basically looked into the overall history of fandoms. I read and watched multiple videos on what they were and what they are. I did research on the drama of Carl Me Carson and Anna Rice with creator boundaries. I watched multiple YouTube videos that talked about the MCYT fandom. I read psychology articles on hyperfixations. I even fully read the 1967 essay, The Death of the Author by Roland Barthes, and learned what it truly means. All of that so I could properly make a PowerPoint, which is this, and learn why fandoms dislike creator boundaries so much. And I also, in this presentation, I want to correct the wrongs and misunderstandings actually caused from my previous stream. So that's what we're going to be learning today. Also, the reason why I say forget about the previous stream is because I have now privated that stream. I haven't deleted it, I just privated it, just because going forwards, this, with the knowledge that I have on fandom space and the knowledge that I have as a creator and everything else, this is kind of like my final interpretation and final response to boundaries and fandoms and everything else, and this is the most accurate information that I can be able to present. So I basically privated the last stream just so there is no confusion if someone later in the future sees that stream and is confused because they don't know, they don't look like the timestamp or anything like that. So that's why we're doing that. Also, Fox Wannabe, thank you for the resub for 3 months at tier 1. I appreciate that. It was a lot of 48 hours, but a lot of good helpful advice, a lot of good places to do research and people on from the fandom space. So I appreciate the fandom for one giving me the opportunity to actually like start somewhere and be like, hey, if you want to learn fandom space, well, here's this, look at these resources, look at that, and I appreciate that from the fandom space. So we're basically going to go there, and I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about the fandom history. I'm going to talk about fandoms in general and what they are. I'm going to talk about creator boundaries and where they came from. I'm also going to talk about my community for a bit. So, yeah, I also want to say this, chat. At any point, if you feel like, oh, creator did nothing wrong, don't feel that way. I will take accountability for my own actions. One thing I will say, for how many reacted, as you pointed, are young, that means acting rashly, they'll grow up. No, exactly. And again, I'm not like mad at anyone's like anger or hatred or reaction response to what I said in stream. I messed up. I didn't properly plan it. I didn't have my stuff written out and all of that. And so that's why I made a PowerPoint presentation, because I have everything written out here so I can perfectly say what I am trying to say and not stumble on my words or contradict myself or do anything of that such. Okay, so let's get started with what are fandoms and the history of them. So for those who are in the fandom space, you'll probably know what they are, but for those who don't and are just have the rough idea what a fandom is, a fandom is basically a subculture composed of fans for a variety of genres and topics. It's not only media. It can be pretty much anything. Anything that a person or a small group of people, or even small group, it can be large, small, whatever. Any group of people that have a connection to liking something can be considered a fandom. There's fandoms for literature, shows, video games, music, the furry fandom even. Like, there can be so many different fandoms. It is massive. It is extremely, extremely massive. And so when I was doing this, I started looking into the research of the history. And does anyone want to know when, like, the first ever point fandoms were kind of recognized as a thing, or like at least documented? Does anyone want to take a guess? Like, any type of year. Star Trek, 70s, 1970s. So actually, it goes before Star Trek. 1970 is actually a really big point, but it's in the 19th century, with the first actual example being from feminist scholar Adrian Wadewitz, citing Janet to devotees in the 19th century by Jane Austen around the 1870s. It goes all the way back to there, and as well as some of the early examples being of fandoms from the works of Sherlock Holmes. It was older, though, technically, yes, but this is some of the first documented cases of it being there from what I've found. And the reason why it starts to get here is because people liked the literature of what authors and the stories were creating, and so you would have these groups, and with technology not being to where it was, you would have sort of people sending people like mail of their like interest and stuff, and so on and so forth. So it's very interesting how it's basically involved. And when you all say Star Trek, that was one of the prominent points, because as it advanced and like fandoms became more and more of a thing, by the 20th century, it really started to expand with prominent genres of mainly fantasy and sci-fi, like what you all said, Star Trek. But also in the 1970s, anime and manga fandoms began to form in Japan, and then eventually the US, because manga started getting imported into America. So the 1970s was a really big point in fandom culture that it kind of exploded because it started branching off more than just literature in itself. Did Queen Elizabeth request? I'm not sure. Maybe, unsure of that. So it's quite interesting by the 20th century though that this kind of expanded, and then we go into the 21st century, which is also computers became a big thing. Yep, because technology advanced, so people could express how they liked a character or a show or an episode in that regards within the 70s. Book clubs existed for a long time. Yep. So what happens in the 21st century? Basically, this decade, right? So fandoms as a whole continued to grow, and they also established universal rules, as well as they were basically, fans claim certain websites as like a safe place for fandoms to interact with and not worry about stuff. As you can see in today, you have like Tumblr, AO3, Wattpad, and many, many more before these three. These are just three that are very common right now, but there have been many fandom sites before this. And these universal rules were sort of this right here. Some were created for like AO3. ODWAP, yeah. But like these were some of the universal rules. If you don't like something, don't read it. You don't like a post, ignore it. You utilize the block button. Fiction doesn't equal endorsement. People are allowed to be weird about fictional characters sometimes, and you will live, aka the world will keep spinning. All of these were sort of universal rules by fandoms because fandom culture, you could talk about pretty much anything. You could make anything, and it didn't matter what it was. It did not matter if it can be as safe for work or as not safe for work. If you can think some of the darkest or most disturbing things that you don't agree with, someone's probably made it. If you can think of the most safe for work stuff, probably someone made it. There is 3 laws of fandom, basically. Right, yeah, exactly. And all of that was just in this spacing as fandoms. Rule 34 of the internet, yeah. Which, whole other thing. As soon as when people need the most, yeah, people can like something weird and the world will keep spinning. It's not going to be the end of the world. But that kind of changed in 2019. And this is where I learned about this by the fandoms. And that was because before 2019, there were no rules on what you could and could not post in fandoms. Literally, it was the Wild West. Anything was allowed because fandom spaces were for the fans. They weren't for creators. They weren't for anything of the such. But what happened in 2019 was that Call Me Carson introduced the concept of creator boundaries mainly in the MCYT space. Now, he's not the first one to have the concept of creator boundaries, but he was the person that made it really prevalent in the MCYT space. And it's a whole drama thing, and other creators have done. There was a big drama as well with Anne Rice, who did very similar to what Call Me Carson was talking about creator boundaries and what should and should not be depicted of characters and creators and so on and so forth. And because of this whole concept is what strike through and censorship on the internet have a big part of why fandoms are. Yes, but I'm talking about mainly the MCYT space of creator boundaries specifically. But you are correct, Killer. Censorship of the internet has also been a big part of why fandoms are how they are now. But I'm just mainly talking about the MCYT space with Call Me Carson in that regards. But you are right. Censorship and the internet and all of that is also a very, very big part before this, but this was just something for that. Yeah, she sued so many people. It's kind of crazy. If you don't know the Anne Rice drama, I would recommend go looking it up because it's actually, these characters do not belong to me. Yeah, like it's crazy. Also, again, you mentioned COVID had a lot of people, and we'll get to that right here because once Call Me Carson kind of started this topic in the MCYT space, it kind of was the war on fandoms, as I'm going to call it, with the MTYC, with like fandoms and creators specifically. Because after creator boundaries were kind of a thing, it didn't go away. And more started popping up, especially during lockdown, as more and new creators were coming into the space and new fans were coming into the space. The idea of creator boundaries slowly became normalized because people that were new to the fandoms and weren't there before all of this thought this was just a normal thing. And everyone knew, didn't really question why people were so against it. And even myself, I didn't question why did some people in the fandom space have an issue while others didn't. And after reading countless articles and watching a lot of videos on fandom space, I wonder why people are mad. And they kind of have a right to. The best way that it was told to me, and that I was also reading on, is, for example, it's like this. You own a home and you lived there for a while, a very long time. And all of a sudden, a group of people walk in there and go, this place is really nice. I want to also be here. But we're going to change some things around here. And now you're like, wait, you just got here and you like this place, but you want to change some stuff. And now you're trying to keep your home the same as it was before while dealing with people constantly trying to change things. And it's one of the reasons why fandom spaces are like creators shouldn't be here is because most creators will be like, wow, this place is really cool, but can fans not do XYZ, even though creators are more of the actual guests in the space than the fans are. The fans are the homeowners, the creators are the guests. So there are preferences, Inkwells. There are preferences. And so again, the preferences come back to the topic of if you don't like something, you can block the tag, not block the creator who's posting it, or just ignore it outright. And that's kind of been the general rule of fandom spaces well before creators have been there. There's even creators have come to some creators have also come to a compromise where they will ask, hey, you can post what you want, but can you post it under this specific tag, just so those who don't want to see it can just avoid the tag specifically. Like, if you didn't make videos, the space won't exist. Yes and no, a healer. Creators create the content and the fandom for it, but for example, if I never existed and my content was not a thing, that fandom space would still exist for other fandoms. A fandom website isn't just particular to only one set of fandoms. It's very, very massive, and it's gigantic. It's more than just the MCYT space fandom. There's the furry fandom, there's the Taylor Swift fandom, there's music fandoms, there's anime fandoms, there's movie like literally any type of celebrity, artist, music show that you think there is a Great Gatsby fandom. Yeah, like literally there's fandoms for everything. And so the thing is, those fandoms will still exist even without it. And the thing is, this also comes down to a later topic that we will talk about in a little bit, but it also comes down to the death of the author, as well as Boos, who is another literary critic and author who almost contradicts Barth's essay as well, but that's another topic for that. So that's the thing with fandoms, is that it's kind of very, very difficult to be like preferences, and that's why the preferences come from the individual, not strictly from the creator. Yes, you can respect a creator's wishes. You can fully respect a creator's wishes, but at the same time, it's the internet. So people are going to do what they want to do, and you can't fully moderate that. But with that being said, the reason why this happens, though, is anytime a creator sets a new boundary, it starts this problem all over again. So anytime a creator wants to basically update their boundaries list, or mandatory, you never know what you'll run into in the road. Exactly. Anytime a creator updates their boundaries or change a boundary or do whatever, right? It starts this whole problem again, because now it's like a new set of rules have been implemented into the fandom space. Because creator boundaries, which are an important thing, I'm going to say this now, creator boundaries are an important thing because there needs to be some form of boundary between the creator and the fandom in some way, shape, or form, so things don't get parasocial. But anytime new boundaries are created, fandoms then start an argument, because people will then be like, well, that wasn't a boundary before, but now it is, or now it's no longer a boundary, so it's fine. And there's so much confusion and misunderstanding of that which I didn't realize that happens, and so I am sorry for that. The separation between insert thing here and fandom, yeah. Which there needs to be some boundary to it. Aren't on Tumblr, giving them a safe space, which isn't the case for MC. Yeah, that's the hard part with fandom space and internet creators. Is internet creators are chronically online compared to most big fandoms, where like if it's a fan for a movie or a celebrity or an actor, they're not going to be on Tumblr. They won't ever really interact on Tumblr. Even if they are, they'll probably just watch. Yeah, boundaries to protect the creator versus boundaries set as rules for others. Exactly. And so the reason why it's harder for boundaries to be implemented as a creator is because they're chronically online. And so they see things that they don't want to see, which, again, it's somebody's preference to it. Well, yeah, I'm not saying actors in movies haven't been on there. Again, look back at the author of Anne Rice, who did all that. That's someone who isn't online, is an author of a book, and then causes a whole problem. Y'all have those sort of tags for a reason. Exactly. Well, you were so clear on your boundaries. There's a difference, though, in Tari. Yeah, there is a difference, and I will explain a lot of the contradictions. So, again, let me clarify my stuff before just automatically saying that your boundaries were fine, though. It is confusing. Because this will clarify a lot of stuff. So people are like, but your boundaries are fine before. I understand that, but let me explain stuff more as I go into this to make it more clear. So, why do boundaries create so much chaos in the first place? Right. Let's start with that. And the main reason is a lot of boundaries can be misinterpreted, misunderstanding, and just create arguments in the first place. When someone creates a boundary, it can be broken down different ways, but there is a video that I watched by Frostbite Freeman on how Minecraft content creator boundaries, quote unquote, don't work. I recommend, if you have not watched that before, go watch it because they give a lot of good explanations and reasonings on why boundaries don't really work for content creators. You're not allowed to when I was new to the fandom, a lot of knowledge came from fan posts, especially in my space, and this is, yeah, creators were completely different. But one of the things I want to point out from this video is the concept of semantics and pragmatics. So, I have not, I might have, but the name doesn't fully sound familiar. I might have watched one of their videos when I was doing research and just didn't realize it, but I don't know specifically. But semantics and pragmatics. So for most people, we probably know what semantics are. Semantics are the literal meaning of a sentence. But pragmatic is what's the effects that a sentence has when it is stated. Okay? So for example, the statement, creators are people, they have boundaries, which on a semantic level, it's stating that creators are people who have boundaries. It's very, very literal, very, very simple. Which I agree with, that creators are people, and there are different levels to somebody's boundaries, because someone who's, for example, does not really care for boundaries, it is more of in compost whatever, is very different than someone who is a family-friendly creator and their boundaries what they create. But in a pragmatics view, if a creator says that they have a boundary, right? And they say, I am a person, I have my boundaries. Then this has an effect that it goes, the creator is against certain things. So when people go against their boundaries, there will most likely then cause an uproar of arguments, threats, and hate because of one simple sentence. You can be super, super, like, kind with what you're saying and not trying to be aggressive whatsoever and be like, hey guys, I have a boundary, it's just don't do XYZ. That's where parasocial infighting comes into. Yep, exactly. It's because wording can be interpreted in so many different ways, which interpretation is actually a very big thing, because this thing continues the chaos of creators versus fandom spaces. And interpretation goes into our next thing, the death of the author. Now, I used this in my previous stream, and I misused it and used it improperly. I was told I used it improperly, and I was also told that a lot of people use it improperly when it's talked about. So after doing my own research and reading the entire thing, basically The Death of the Author is a 1967 essay by French literary critic and theorist Roland Barthes, whose essay argues against the traditional literary practices of the author has ultimate meaning for a text, and instead believes the reader's interpretation should be the focus over the definitive meaning. Basically, it doesn't matter if the author is dead or whatever. From Bart's point of view, the author's ultimate final decision should not be the only thing that is interpreted from the text, and it's the reader's interpretation that should also have a meaning to it. So why does this matter? Why does the death of the author and the interpretation matter? It's because everything is up to interpretation. Anytime someone makes a boundary, is up to interpretation. Anytime someone makes a post, a video, people, for example, when I made the comment of like, I don't understand why people thought that vampire, like V Abolish and V Apo, one instance actually was able to show some type of connection in a way because it was broken down. Because in my point of view, that wasn't my interpretation, but in someone else's point of view, that was their interpretation. And because everything is into interpretation, even Barth's own work of The Death of the Author, for how long it has been out in the world and been talked about, it is constantly interpreted differently from person to person, even to this day. There is no final definitive answer on why Barth's, like what Barth's final reasoning was. It's like, yeah, extra. And so this is very much how headcanons and theories can be created off very small amounts of media and moments in media and literature that a creator or an author presents, is trying to figure out why the vibe you got from something makes sense. Exactly. Also, Kitty, thank you for the reset for 2 months. I appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around. So literally any form of small amount of media can have some massive interpretation from just the author's work into headcanons and theories by fandom spaces. Which then leads, and I'm not going to fully talk about it, into Wayne Seed Booth's theories on the implied author and the unreliable narrator, and how some of his theories actually contradict Barth's theories. But that is a whole other deep dive. But the main basic idea of some of Wayne Seed Booth's theories is that there still needs to be some type of implied author in the narrative in some way, shape, or form to allow the reader to have some form of interpretation of those means. And this contradicts Barth's, where it's saying that the death of the author doesn't have any form of final say, but the reader does. But Booth is saying that the author still needs to have some form of say, because without the author, the interpretation can then be anything. But again, this is a whole other deep dive. I started looking into this, and my goodness, the structure of literacy throughout history and throughout changes in how it is talked about and how it is portrayed and changed even up in today's media and today's work of authors is such another whole rabbit hole on its other ends that it is crazy. It is such a deep dive. Also, fun fact regarding headcanons, I just thought this would be fun. Headcanons were created around in 2007 in online fandom communities with early usage traced back to LiveJournal. So I just thought that was cool. I just like, oh, 2007. That's when headcanons kind of started to like actually become a like have a name for themselves. Headcanons were probably long, oh, like way before that, but kind of the name headcanon. There's also the word fanon, which is fan cannons, which is basically another variation of headcanon. So quite a little bit interesting topic. So after doing all this research, and after everything that the author has been implied is people just ignore your deciding that V-Boss is going to have to deal with post-Oker's trauma. Yeah, exactly. That's something. It's like, oh yeah, he's going to have trauma no matter what. Even if you say he doesn't, he's still going to have trauma. Fandoms run these ahead canon. Yep. So where is my stance in all this, right? And this is why I said my previous stream really doesn't matter because I wasn't as informed as I am now, right? Terms changed too. I remember the term anti-changing. Yeah. And so basically, this has been my stance from the beginning. I just never could think about the right way to present it in a way. And that is that personally, as an individual, for myself, I never fully cared for boundaries when it came to fandom spaces. Now, boundaries for myself of like separating myself from parasocial stuff, that is like a boundary that I have. But when it came to fandom spaces, I didn't really have any. Like, genuinely, the first time I ever made a boundary list was mid-Vampires SMP because I kept getting asked about it. It's all good, Digit. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's not uncomfortable. It was a good learning lesson. And so, that's why, though, when I said, the very first time I talked about boundaries, I said, you can do whatever you want, just don't shove it into my face, is because, personally, I know that it's the internet. I can't control everything. People are still gonna do what they're going to do, even if I ask not to, so I really don't care. And now, because I said this, some of you might be a bit confused. Because if I don't care about boundaries, why have them in the first place? It's still because I'm a family-friendly creator. It's why when someone asked if I was okay with the Morcant X v Abolish ship, and I said, as long as it wasn't not safe for work, it's fine, that statement I made, probably with countless others, contradicts themselves, because why would a family-friendly creator be okay with a ship that is most likely not safe for work, but is saying it's okay as long as it's safe for work? It's because personally I don't care. Do I think it's weird? Yeah, but I also know the internet and the people are going to create stuff that I won't agree with. But I can just ignore it or block it if I need to. It's just the conflict in my head comes into play of me being a family-friendly creator, because some of my audience probably shouldn't see certain things. I can do my best to regulate my platforms, but that doesn't really work in fandom spaces. Yeah, borderline. The ship is basically borderline incest. And that's why it's very contradicting me. Like, yeah, that's fine as long as it's safe for work, which makes no sense. Fandom is going to be fandom. Like, I think it's weird that that's a ship, but I also know people in fandom spaces that are going to ship anything because it's the fandom space. Literally, if you deep dive enough into the fandom space of one topic, you can think of probably the most safest topic ever. More likely than not, people are still gonna make it somehow not safe for work. They're gonna be straight up just doing whatever. Fandom space will ship anything that moves. Basically, if it moves, if it breathes, it can be shipped. And again, I'm not saying those people can't do that. If they want to do that, they are all for doing those ships. They are fine. Because again, I do not care. Just don't shove it into my face. That's all I ask. And so, what happened though, because of the previous stream that I did, when I tried to tighten my boundaries incorrectly, I accidentally overstepped. I said a lot of contradictions in my previous statements, made myself look like a fool because I didn't fully know what I was trying to say, and in doing so caused a lot of discourse in the fandom space, and I apologize for that. So, with that being said, what are my boundaries? Was very shoving it into your face. But like even then, yeah. Why someone makes something and that's what they get out of it. Yeah, it's like you never know why they're doing it in the first place and why, and so it's like you can't really judge. You can judge the work, but you don't fully understand the person. On the boundaries things, I did. I did, and we've gone through a lot of it so far. I made a whole presentation PowerPoint. I wrote everything out. And if you missed anything that I said, you can go back in the VOD and watch it, because there's a lot of clarity in what I've been trying to say. So, what are my boundaries? Ultimately, the biggest thing of why probably some people in Tumblr and other people are here are like, okay, so what is abolishes boundaries, right? Use a tag is how I'm going to put it simply. And if you don't like what you see, you can block it. So how is that going to work? With this tag right here. Abolish regret 18 plus. It is what I said earlier in stream, where some creators have made a tag where basically if you do not want to interact with certain tags or certain concepts, then block out this tag right here. Block this tag. All right. So there's the main tag, abolish regret, and then there's the 18 plus tag, abolish regret 18 plus. Boundaries is that it invites people to bring every little directly to the streamer to ask for me. Yeah. Things that make people uncomfortable when people are just asking straight up weird. So it's a DNI tag, exactly. So how is this going to work? Fanfics, fan art, shipping, headcanons tags. Right. So basic example, you kind of understand the concept. If it is a fan fiction that is not rated, mature, or explicit, it can just be the main tag. If it is rated, mature, or explicit, it goes in the 18 plus tag. I know, for example, AO3 has a search bar system where you can filter out certain tags and filter out certain like ratings for stuff. So, ad break. All right, we'll stop. We'll wait for the ad break real quick, and then in the last stream, yes, yes, killer. Basically, I looked more into it, and it's honestly the best concept for creators to do in the first place. I don't think you. I'm not the one who came up with it. It kind of. It kind of was just there, but Legs has one too. Exactly, Lagundo has one. Let me know when the ad break is done, just so that I can be aware to keep on talking. Well, so sorry for the late start of stream chat. I went to the my local post office to renew my passport. So is that some people see them as open system, others see them as closed, but I mean Yeah. So that's gonna take a few weeks, and then hopefully I get it soon. But we are waiting. Yeah, let me know when ads are over, just so I can be aware of it. Should be good for ads. We're all good. Ads done. Okay, cool. So plain and simple, you get the idea. Fan art. If there's blood, gore, romantic intimacy in a very light way, half nude, aka like shirtless, gender bent, trans, etc. You get the idea. That can be all main tag stuff. If it's mature content, in that regards, I mean like sex, full nudity, erotic stuff, kinks, all of that. Put it under the 18 plus tag. Shipping. For those who are asking about shipping, if you're talking about a ship in a way that a character or friend, the characters are just friends, or you fun duo name, or it's like light intimacy in the sense it's just the characters, perfectly fine in the main tag. If you're talking about a ship in a way that revolves around explicitity, taboo, extremely detailed stuff that is frequently talking in like a sexual scene to be provocative or erotic, put that in the 18 plus tag. Those are the sense. In the sense, if it is something that would be rated for mature or explicit, put it in the 18 plus tag. If it is something that wouldn't be rated in those things, you can put it in the main tag. Pretty simple, right? And now headcanon slash tags in general. I, in my previous stream, was overly strict in asking that every headcanon, every post should be tagged very, very specifically. What I wasn't aware of, for the most part, in fandom spaces, is just assumed that what fans post are just fanons or headcanons. I do think posts should have the appropriate tag, but at the bare minimum, having the 18 plus tag so people can block that if they don't want to see it. Would be normal. Yeah, like holding hands, that type of cuddling. Yeah, like yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's nothing that would be considered mature content in that regards. Now, if you're trying to make it as mature or as like you're trying to push the boundaries of it and you look at this, you're like, that's a bit more mature, probably be on the safer side to put an 18 plus, but for the most part, if you're just doing something like holding hands or cuddling. No. Not all head cannons. So this is what I mean. If you have a headcanon that would be considered 18 plus, like if you have a headcanon that is very, very dark or depicted or something that would be considered very mature or explicit in the contents of what you're headcanoning, try to put the 18 plus tag. If you don't really know, and so on and so forth, and it's very, very like what you're like, oh, for example, Via Abolish has to do a lot of paperwork against a trauma. Constant trauma after Okers. That's fine. That's main canon stuff. It's more on the lines of if you have a head canon that's basically revolving around like sex or erotic stuff or just explicit immature in that nature, it should have the 18 plus tag. But if you're just having a head canon for a head canon and it's just whatever, they can just use the main tag. It's insane. No, that's fine. It's more like if the head canon, I should have wrote this better. But it's basically if the head canon is explicit or mature in nature, and it's basically revolving around stuff that is not safe for work. I would say basically if you would talk about that stuff, if the contents was over 18, yeah, should probably go an 18 plus. It depends on the gore. Depends on the blood, because like again, me personally, I am okay with blood and gore, and so like I've played. Again, this is me personally. I have played mature and explicit video games, so I'm used to a lot of stuff that is blood and gore and that type of stuff. And if you don't like something that's under the main tag but still follows it roughly, you can just block the post. I usually see fan arts on Twitter and or Tumblr. Like vampires was a lot of Tumblr stuff. It was like a lot of Tumblr fan art. Because that's the other thing. You can also block an individual's tags as well. That is an option. So like if you see a main tag and it has like gore that you're not comfortable with, you can just block that tag just so you don't see it. Yeah, there's a difference between blood and gore and a difference between like graphic blood and gore in my head. And that's just because I played a lot of different video games growing up, and so I can see the difference. And that's why I'm like I don't want it, because even if it's just a little bit of stuff, that really isn't gore. So I also have ultimatums, and it's only two. It's very two simple ultimatums. Blood and gore, whatever the tag feels. All right, most people tag blood. Yeah, that's why I'm like, that's why it's a main tag and shouldn't just be 18 plus, just because there is blood or gore on it. The ultimatums are very, very simple. It's always the character, not the creator. So if there's ever fan art, headcanon, shipping, whatever, it's always about the characters. And the last one is just never anything with involving a minor. I think those are two pretty simple, like, requests. Is like much blood and realistic wouldn't go. See, so the regarding's like, if in fan art, if you see something and you're like, this guy is covered in blood and it's just extremely realistic, you kind of have to make it your own decision, right? This is your own choice as well. If you feel like something isn't all that bloody or all that gory, use your common sense for it. And people who don't like it can block the gore tag. Exactly. Like, that's where I'm putting it at. Because people can be like, okay, so because if I just say blood has to go here, they're like, okay, so a little tiny cut, that has to go in Team Plus. No. Yeah, and if people repeatedly post stuff that you don't like or you don't want, and just block certain tags that you don't want to see. Again, all of this goes back to the rule. If you don't like it, don't read it. If you don't like the fan art, ignore it. If you don't like a tag, you can block it. Or you can block the account as well. Like, I'm keeping this as just as a rough reference. Yeah, don't engage. Great rule of thumb. As just like, someone can basically screenshot this and they kind of have an understanding. Here, let me do something real quick, just to make this a bit easier to understand. Okay, so, well, I'm just going to do this real quick. Does this make more sense? But at the bare minimum, if the headcanon would be considered mature explicit, have the 18 plus text, people can block what they don't want to see. Does this make this easier? Very off topic, but so nice. It does? Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, so in case anyone needs to, like, you can take a screenshot of this, you can take a photo of this, and it's like, all right, cool. This is just a rough estimate. Now, it is up to the fans to determine what is what, right? Because again, as a creator, I cannot police, and I shouldn't try to police, anything that is in a fandom space. It is up to the fans to decide what they do like and what they don't like, and it's up to me. Can I hide chat? Yeah, I can hide chat real quick. There you go. All right, I'm gonna give you all a few seconds. All right, and then if you've missed it, you can go back into the VOD and re-screenshot that. All right, so that hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, this I feel again is the best compromise with my personal feelings for boundaries in general. Because I feel like people should be allowed to do what they want to create as long as they're not trying to force it into anyone else's space. But at the same time, as a family-friendly creator, yes, I don't have to. It's not my responsibility to make sure my chatters don't see certain things. That is on them. But I now can't, in the sense, it's now not a thing to where if someone in the fandom space, it feels unfortunate, but like it's unfortunate, nerdy, but at the same time, it's needed. It's needed in a way that is just cleared up. Yeah, the place you used to create, the places you create, such as personal Discord. Yes, exactly. But at the same time, now there's this tag, which means if someone sees a certain thing that they don't like, and this tag is here already, it's not on the person that made the post, it's on the person that's being upset about it, because they can just basically be like, I have the tag, I'm following what the creator is asking to do, this is an issue that's more on you than on me. And so that's why this tag is here in the first place. I feel like people can interpret stuff. It's the same way, but that's just, again, going back to the death of the author, people will misinterpret things just in general. I misinterpreted stuff. I interpreted things differently than somebody else. It's like when I first ever made my boundaries list and I just said, hey, usually my characters are straight because I'm straight. Someone thought I was being transphobic because I made that statement, which wasn't. I was just saying that I'm just a straight man. And I think it's better to keep things as simple as possible, just having a tag that is separate. It's them critical thinking where it, yeah, exactly. But the thing was, the person that thought I was being transphobic, just saying I'm straight, they weren't in the fandom. They were outside of the community. Because they literally said they aren't in the MCYT space. They just saw this boundary list and they had the question. So, but with that being said, I want to clarify something. I want to clarify and apologize for my wording when I asked a question and made a comment about characters being trans. So, I want to state this now. For anyone who is trans or in the queer community, you are welcomed here. And I should have done a better job wording what I was trying to say instead of being vague. And when I had a question, I should have made it clear what I was trying to ask in the first place, instead of just trying to just end it and push it aside. Because generally, I was only curious. I had no other intention than wanting to know what the reasoning was for why some people have headcanons and fan art of already male characters being transmasked. But because of my poor word choice in talking about multiple boundary topics at once, I ended up saying something along the lines of trans characters are weird, which isn't true. And I wasn't trying to say that, and it was wrong for me to accidentally say that, and I wanted to clarify all that, and I'm sorry for that. Because generally, as someone who is a straight man, I want to understand this community more. No, I did get an explanation killer. And I want to see why people relate to certain topics and certain characters. And for my previous question that I asked, Is that the same? No, it's chained Araris. There's actually, if you go back in the VOD, there is a screenshot now that people can take. I now know, though, that it was brought to my attention that there is not a ton of trans mask creators and or characters in the MTYT space. So fans who like male characters see themselves in these characters will sometimes headcanon them being trans masked so they can connect to them more. And that makes perfect sense. And I think that's a great thing. It also made me realize that is no different to when I connect to anime characters when I see in animes and like in mangas and such. It's generally the same thing. I just didn't put two and two together, and so yeah, that was just my misinterpretation of it. So again, I want to apologize if I sounded harsh or disgusted or anything of that such. It was never my intention, and my wording came off wrong, so again, I'm sorry. I also felt really, really bad because, again, it was a massive misunderstanding and I caused a lot of problems in the fandom space. And so, as an apology, I also donated $100 to the Trevor Project. Just as like a, hey, I am sorry for what I did. Because, like I said, I will take accountabilities for my action. So, that is just something that I wanted to apologize for. And it will take it, and again, take accountability for what I said. All right. So, with that said, like I said, I want to take accountability for my actions, especially when I mess up, because I am a man of my word. And if I want to learn more about something or want to correct my actions and do so, I will do it correctly. So, now what? Right. Again, I just want to apologize for any misunderstandings or problems I caused in the space in general. It was never my intention, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. I've also learned a lot about fandoms. I also learned how hyperfixations work and that they aren't a choice. And things that confused or shocked me were just normal fandom behavior. Like, example, fan accounts. That's just one hyperfixation that's normal behavior in fandoms, which I didn't know. And I'm sorry if I came off negative when I was talking about that. I didn't know that was someone's hyperfixation, and they don't choose those type of hyperfixations. I read like, I think 3 to 4 psychology articles on the brain of hyperfixation and all this other stuff revolving around it. So it was quite insightful. And so again, if I came off negative when it came to that stuff, my apologies. And also, I'm still new to the fandom space. I know some people I saw on Tumblr said that, how is he new when he made Dream SMP TikToks? And to that, I say, I did, but that was the extent of it. We choose how we take over the world in a week. Exactly. I wasn't in the community of that fandom. I never was a part of Reddit or the Discords or the fan-specific sites. I mainly just watched the live streams, the YouTube videos, and made TikToks about the Dream SMP. That was it. The other closest thing to maybe that you can consider as being part of Owen's community, but even then, I was only in his family-friendly Discord, and I watched his streams and his YouTube videos. I kept to myself. So learning about like specific fandom sites that are only for fans and how they work is something I am learning about. So if I ever make a mistake again, please let me know because I want to improve. So, what does this mean for myself, being in the fandom space, right? I'm gonna say this now. I'm gonna leave the fandom space alone, right? Like again, from reading a lot of this, fandom sites are for the fans. It is what they post on there. It's what they want to talk about on there. It's literally fandom because it is that place. Now, that doesn't mean I won't be involved. Character as transgender woman. It's perfectly fine, Candle. Perfectly fine. In the sense that I won't be involved by basically saying what can and cannot be posted or constantly interacting with stuff. Um, I want to be there because I want to look at cool fan art, and I kind of want to read some of the theories and headcanons that people have when like videos come up and things happen. Because it to be honest, fandom make really cool fan art, and I want to see it. But at the same time, I'm going to be respectful because, like I said, fandom spaces were designed for the fans. I am just a guest at their home. All I ask is I get the same respect if I'm just viewing and looking at posts and not causing a problem. And vice versa with my social platforms, I will keep safe for work. So, my Twitch chat, my YouTube channel, my Discord, even my own posts on my Twitter. Oh, sorry. Yeah, mistyped that. It's supposed to be guest with a T, not an S. I'm going to keep that as safe for work stuff because that is, again, like y'all said earlier, my platforms. It's things that I'm allowed to control. Yeah, there's no issue in liking and reblogging stuff, especially like sticking to fan art. There's a bunch of other creators who do that. Yeah, I know. And so like that's what I'm gonna stick to. As long as I be respectful there, I ask y'all be respectful on my platforms too. In my house is a common reaction in fandoms. Yeah. I also want to say this, just so there's no confusion. I do respect other creator boundaries. If a creator has a certain boundary, that's their preference. And I'm going to respect those things, but also at the same time, I respect and I see the fandom side of this whole thing way more now than I have before. I understand why fans get mad at creators when they ask for certain boundaries or try to set certain boundaries because they're basically rules that limit what people can and cannot do. When in reality, fandom spaces have been there way longer than the creator has. A lot of fan content's not made for creator. It's made for the fans. It's just so jarring when creator wants to interact with it. Exactly. And a very big Kotick Hotel, and they helped fund the creation, but that's kind of, yeah. Like, creators can lurk, do whatever, but that's to its. Oh, I'm getting a message on Discord. Hold on. I can respond to that afterwards. But like you said, Shadow, CCs are basically just VIPs in a very big and chaotic hotel. They helped fund the creation, but that's kind of it to their extent. Got mad when normies showed up and they didn't get what they could curate themselves. Exactly. And again, the whole normie thing happened with lockdown because more people got into the fandom space and so on. It's a big history for the fandom. And I'm only scratching the very, very top of the iceberg of what I was able to learn for 48 hours. Now then, I wanted to also talk about my community. As I feel is basically, yeah, like people can have their preferences in Tari. Like people can fully have their preferences and be like, hey, can you not do XYZ? But at the same time, fandoms are kind of allowed to do what they want, and people are gonna do what they want, even if someone asks not to. That's just life, and that's just how the internet works. As a creator, I know that very too well, that if you ask something to not be done, people are most likely still gonna do it. Have we done a good job? Some of you have, because some of you need to tone it down. This is gonna be a little bit stern. I'm gonna be a little bit stern to my community right now. So here's the thing with my community and some of you. After I made that my boundary list, and then I went on Tumblr and I made the apology stuff, and people realized who I was and what my account was, I was told that some people in my community, after I made boundaries, decided to be white knights and keyboard warriors and send messages to people saying you're breaking Abolish's boundaries, you're going to get banned from his community. Practically putting words in my mouth of things I have never said. I also then got messaged by people saying people are messaging Tumblr polls saying I don't want to be in them. Never said that. All I said is I don't care for Tumblr polls because I don't use Tumblr. If you are someone in my community who has ever sent a message to someone and told them they would get banned from my community for doing something that for breaking a boundary on a fandom site, or putting words in my mouth saying just because he doesn't want to be somewhere, he doesn't want to be interacting with whatever, don't. I appreciate y'all trying to defend me, but y'all don't need to. I'm a grown adult, and I can and will take accountability for my own actions. People doing this make this community seem more toxic, harsh, and terrifying to join, ask questions, or even just to interact with. And this is not the community I'm trying to grow. And I do not mind needing the timeout or even banning people from here, no matter how long they've been in this community, if they keep causing problems. On top of that, being polite. That's all you gotta do. But on top of that, some of you keep putting me on a pedestal, even when I ask not to. And I know it won't fully go away. And people will have a different perception of me, and there will be different aspects of a power dynamic between the creator and a fan. But I want to try my best not to cultivate that, because it will lead to parasocial tendencies that I don't want in this community. Yeah, don't play Paladin just when the game like in the order to attack nor knighted you. Exactly. Yeah, it's never gonna go away. But I also want to make it clear that I never want to foster that type of stuff here. Idol culture and streamer culture are very much intersecting. They very much are. And I know that's never going to go away, but I will always make the statement that I do not want to be put on a pedestal. Because I know it will lead to parasocial tendencies, and people will get parasocial about things that I do not want to cultivate. What does pedestal mean? English is not my first language. Pedestal is basically putting someone or propping somebody up and basically idolizing them and thinking they can never do any wrong or they're always right and so on and so forth. I do think y'all are great, and I appreciate the support that y'all have for me in this community. But also, as a community, if we don't allow outside voices to have an opinion or to ask a question, then we can't grow as a community or as people. And I think that's very, very important within creator space. I have no option X, I better than, I don't care for X. I don't like, yeah. And as someone who's been through it, yeah. So that's the thing. If someone has an opinion, someone has a different like thought, they're allowed to have that thought, especially if they say it on a fandom site. Like, you don't need to harass someone or threaten someone or send messages to people about something you don't agree with. If you don't like what they're posting, just ignore it. And I know that especially now after reading the history of fandoms and the whole origins of them. So, the block button is free, exactly. It also just makes a lot more chaos in the community of fandoms, which there's already enough chaos in that space. So, with that being said, that's kind of it that I have. So, if there's anything I missed, or if you have any questions right now, feel free to ask. I have been doing the same, sending hate, maintaining things they shouldn't. Yeah, just ignore it. Mad respect. I can tell you had much time in the research. Thank you for taking accountability and educating yourself. Thank you for hearing. Yeah, of course. Like, just sadly have a lot of harassment right now, and you get attacked for just being online, and that's perfectly fair. To more earlier in discussion, but I think a big thing is like not just anti-YC, but vampire genre in general tends to attract people who've been through stuff. Not everyone, obviously. Oh, sorry about that, but that's fair. That's perfectly fair, and it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, if there's any questions or I missed something that you have, feel free to ask right now. If it's a big question, I'll write it down. I'll probably respond to it in my Discord just so I have a better, clear thought of it. All the allegories of vampires, there's a reason they're queer coded. Yeah, like that's kind of what it is. So for those who don't know, basically, what happened last stream was I tried to recorrect my boundaries and restate and be more detailed with my boundaries because I didn't fully understand fandom culture, which then caused a lot of fire in the fandom space, especially on Tumblr. And a lot of people were not happy. And so I realized why, because people were then also telling me what I was doing wrong. And so over the past 48 hours, I basically did a lot of research on a bunch of different stuff regarding fandoms face in the drama of creator boundaries and so on and so forth. I got one for fandoms. Does it also count in for like making AUs that already exist? If you're talking like, I would suggest headcanons, I would sort of consider the same thing as AUs. It could have been much worse. It could have been much, much worse, yeah. Oh no, trust me, I know it could have. In my boundaries, I considered AUs, alternate universes, the same as headcanons, just because it kind of is like, it's a fanon, it's a fan canon, it's their interpretation of something, and so that's how I would interpret it. I also think we are losing media literacy and goal thinking skills, so a lot of people think they can control others now, and they say my interpretation is only one that matters, but it's never been the case. And that, again, that goes the thing with what is it? With the death of the author, right? We go back to that. Is that, and also back to boost writing with the what was it called? Where was it? Here. Booster is an implied author. There needs to be a balance to both having a creative narrative, but then also the readers' and viewers' interpretation. We love Canva. Canva's been great. It's been really nice. Is that 18 plus? I think that's so here's the thing. When it came to like the abolish stopping 9/11 thing, is that 18 plus? It depends on how detailed you make it. That's the point. That's where the critical thinking of the individual comes into play. Is you have to kind of make the decision as the creator of the art and of the fan fiction and of the story, is how much are you going to depict of what you are doing to make it either 18 plus or family friendly. 9/11 thing, whole vampire SMP topic of headcanon, which is different. What's it's an event, but we don't need to worry about it. All right, is there anything else that I missed? I'm impressed beyond words on how much research you've done in educating. Like I said, I wanted to be educated. I wanted to actually educate myself on this topic and make something that was properly articulated and properly composed, so I wasn't contradicting myself or like stumbling across my words in a way that was like, I did my research and I'm sorry for what I did. Now I've learned. My friends have been threatened as VIP members in this community. Thoughts on that? So here's the thing. If any one of my VIPs has ever threatened someone with like social ostracization, as you're saying it, I do not agree with that. I do not agree with that. And if you are a VIP here and you're listening to that, stop. Don't do that. Because I do not mind removing your VIP status off from this community and just being a normal chatter. So if you are a VIP and you are threatening other people because of being on other social media platforms, especially now, after we have a final stand on what my boundaries are, stop. Don't do that. I want this community to be kind and welcoming to people, even if they think differently or have a different thought and opinion. See, I'm trying to see if I missed anything else. Would you be alright with me grabbing links to the VOD and throwing them? Yeah, go for it. Like, if you want timestamps, like, if you want, like, to do a timestamp of stuff and throwing it up on Tumblr to make it easier for people to see and, like, do, and that makes it easier for stuff, perfectly fine with that. And the last one, which is good to see, it's because I was... Last stream, I basically did it off rationality. Because what happened was last stream, I saw a very parasocial post that I did not mention, just in general, and I was like, okay, well, I need to correct this. But instead of only talking about the parasocial post, I looked into research on just the overall concept of boundaries, because it was parasocialism and creator boundaries. But instead of just talking about that only topic, I made the stupid decision and decided to talk about every boundary as a creator, which then led to a whole lot of problems. So a lot of people want to do this and admit the mistake. It's how I grew up. It's how I was raised. So my parents taught me that, like, if you mess up on something, apologize for it and learn from your mistakes. So that's kind of like where I am with this, is like, if I ever mess up, I am fully open to basically being like admitting when I messed up on something, because admitting when you're wrong is not a bad thing. I think people are so like out of touch with their emotion on failure and embarrassment and messing up on stuff that it's okay to mess up. It's okay to admit when you're wrong, because it lets you grow as a person and be better. I did not mean it as a threat, just parroting the block and move on after being apparently shipped with you. Okay, that's the other thing. If people are shipping myself with my VIPs or my viewers, that is not that is an RPF, that is a real person fiction stuff right there. And that is something I don't agree with. Now, if you're still going to do it, I'm gonna think it's weird. I'm gonna think it's really weird. But at the same time, if I see that, I'm just gonna block it. And leave it at that. A thing I will notice a lot yesterday was people being very confused or concerned because everything was being taken out of context and there's a very small group of people. The outright condemn, and that's the thing. If it happens, it happens. Like, if I was confused, I did, and some of the stuff I probably did say out of context because I was trying to say multiple things without having a proper structure to it. So you've educated yourself and educated some of us. This was a very educational stream, honestly. I'm not even in the community, but this was very nice stream that I stumbled on. Well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Towards some VIPs. Is what it is. Never seen hater threats. It's not hard for real. It really isn't, but people will still do, so. Alright, let me... Oh, we got an ad break. Alright. We can wait there. Yeah, we meant to respond to block, ignore, leave. Yeah. Block it, ignore it, leave it alone. You can't really stop people, so you gotta ignore it at best. Yep. Oh, trust me, I've seen a lot of creators and creator drama being within the MCYT space, especially when it was really big. With certain creators and drama and people reacting irrationally or not looking at the other side and such, and it always causes more problems. And so I've always told myself that's not how I was raised, and if I ever caused an issue, I would take accountability for myself on that. And so that's what I'm doing right now. That it's really old. Most people just tend to wait until the subject was dead, though. Yeah. I have not researched the history of RPF because it didn't relate to what I was needing to talk about for this stream. But I did learn a little bit about it. Not to the full extent of what probably some of you know. So it is what it is. The way you see see, the thing with fan fiction is I don't really read much on fan fiction just because I'm not a person who like I'm a person who likes to read stuff that is more informational than just like fan fiction or fictional in that cause, unless the fiction has some stuff that is related um to knowledge. The only other type of main reading that I read is like sometimes mangas and webcomics, just because the visuals are really good and the story that the characters create. But I haven't really read anything regarding fan fiction. Well, the problem because that not even just against you anymore. That's people making RPF about random people who just happen to be in chat. If those users express discomfort, discuss. Yeah, like I said, the whole RPF VIP stuff, I fully don't agree with. I think it's completely weird, completely wrong, and those are just people. Those are just chatters that are just interacting, and they aren't trying to be involved, and they're just getting caught up in something that they weren't even there in the first place. More likely to be seen by the CCs and just like that's the thing. Like I really didn't know about the VIP stuff until it was brought up. And it's the best option is for everyone just to leave it alone and drop it, and we'll be fine with that. And not having to with it, yeah. RPF is a very deep topic on its own, and the fandoms are very protective over their work and get very upset when creators see it. So I would advise. Oh yeah, don't worry. I've never looked into any RPF with myself. That is something I made way before my time of basically being like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm just going to entirely ignore it because I know, especially now, that it's people do not want creators to see. I have to go now. Yeah, all good. Thank you for stopping on by. RPF is real person fiction. Yep. It could be a minor, exactly, and that's why I'm like, that's, thank you. Like someone who decides they want to make a content for an audience for a living. Yeah, people are just here. Pass out, not stream related. Have a good stream. Yep, all good. Thank you for stopping on by. Just not so much good news. Huh. What is RPF real person fiction? But we're gonna leave it at that. So yeah, that was basically it for the stream. We're not just gonna go. We're gonna actually hop onto legs.gg and actually start doing some of the interior design for the underwater Rust lab that we're building on Extraction. But again, I hope for everyone that came to watch this specifically, that it was a good representation of like me wanting to educate myself and a proper apology and such. Because again, I never wanted to come off as this misunderstanding or misinterpretation of what I was trying to say, and I clearly should have done more work before I even stated what I wanted to say. But now we're here. It was a good learning experience for me, and I appreciate it because I got to understand the fandom way more than I did before. So thank you all for that. Alrighty, now then, let's head over to Minecraft. So let me pull that up. Yep, we're just about to do some Minecraft world building. I'm glad y'all are saying it's a good clarification and understanding of fandom stuff. And again, if you missed anything revolving the beginning of stream, I would advise, instead of myself trying to restate what I talked about, go back to the beginning of this VOD and watch it, because I properly explained myself through that. So. Alright, here's a question. What about power imbalance stuff? Did you think it was okay to make the last stream mainly in reaction to a Twitter post? So that's the thing. I didn't think the whole power imbalance thing when I was told about it, I didn't realize how much of a power balance created. I know creators had a power balance, but I also didn't think that it would cause such a shift, even if a creator just references something. And so I should have done a better job trying to convey my wording. And to the person that I basically talked about the fandom account, I am sorry about that. That was not my intention. And that wasn't even the account I was referring to when I saw the other thing that made me even start this, start that stream. It was entirely separate. So. And I apologize for that. What about changing content stream? We do the same thing. What are you referencing? Can you give a bit more of an explanation so I can try to answer? Let me actually update. Interior. And then our any recaps, yeah. Things that anything else I missed. No, like, I'm not trying to get. I wouldn't ever try to lash out or be defensive. And if, again, like I said, if I mess up, I mess up, and I'll try to explain myself if it's ever a misunderstanding. Did you ask anyone for the permission to talk about their post on stream? So here's the thing, when it comes to asking permission about talking about certain posts on stream, this is entirely coming from a creator perspective when it comes to that type of stuff. How I see it is that a creator will see a post and, again, could interact with it, or if they want to talk about it, bring them on stream, they can showcase it. For example, if someone sees really cool fan art, creators have been like, wow, look at this really cool fan art, and they'll just throw it on screen. A bunch of creators have done that before. The problem that I can see when it comes to asking permission for any time a creator wants to show something online from a fandom space, if it is something they want to talk about that can be problematic or whatever, is the creator. If the creator messages that person asking them to, in the sense, it can bring bad attention to that person. Yeah, when it's controversial, it can bring bad attention to that person. And so that's why the thought in my head is, if a creator shouldn't bring something up or mention that post or show it online, they can try talking about it if they're trying to like allude to it, but without their best trying not to say what it was. But also, I think there is this, again, boundary in my head of trying not to be parasocial. And so in my head, if I think a creator messages just a random fan about something, they don't know how old that fan is. And the issue is being vague doesn't stop people from finding it, especially in a small community. Yes. But in my head, I always think also, if I message a person asking for permission about something or asking them to do something, if I private DM them I don't know how old they are, and that's just weird. If I'm privately messaging someone about something that they're posting, whether it be whatever, that can lead off to parasocial tendencies, especially if they're a minor, and I don't want to deal with that. And then also, if I comment on that post, then if I comment on the post, if I saw it on Twitter or Tumblr or wherever, and that gets seen based off the following that I have on those accounts, it then gets seen that other people then know, even without it, and at that point, you can't even explain it. And so that's why it's a very weird thing for creators to ask about permission for certain things. And it's a very, very complicated thing to like try to balance, and I wasn't trying to like cause any issues. Should I have tried to figure out a way to present it better than what I did in my previous stream? Absolutely yes. And I will remember that for next time because I can't change the past. But I've learned from that, and I'll try to figure out a way to better talk about it. And if I ever caused any problems for any person when I involve something of that way, and follows on Tumblr, you're concerned of. It's not so much my likes. I'm talking about just commenting on something in general. Because no matter if I comment on something on a social post, people will see it. Did I not change the stream category? I know it's Minecraft. So again, if I ever said something and it caused someone to be in a compromised situation on their social media platform, I am sorry. That was not my intention, and I will try better for that. This retard dynamic, they might just say yes to things that they shouldn't say yes to as well. That's the other thing, right? Because like, if they are a fan of mine, and I'm like, hey, can you not post that? And they automatically just go, yeah, sure, that's fine. Just because they're agreeing to the creator. That's another thing I don't want to happen, is because I want people to have critical thinking when someone says something or asks a question or doing whatever. And so it's just a very weird, complicated thing for creators. And I don't want to, like, cause more problems than I don't want to cause more problems than something that can be prevented. But yeah, so remember that they're posting it online on a public forum. I think it just depends where as well. Like, like I said, fandoms have their space and they can post whatever they want because it's their space. And if a creator sees it, the creator shouldn't try to moderate that because again, it's the fandom space. That's just how they've always been. But I also do think that there is this like compromise that needs to be made if creators do see something. But I do not know what the proper answer to that would be. Anyways, though, we're going to work on this today. Real quick, I was talking to Zen. You prove to be respectful enough here on Tumblr to be able to tell fans you enjoy their posts. No, it's not so much that. It's not so much that I'm saying that like I can't comment on somebody's post. It comes along the lines of like if I comment on something and it's in the sense if I was to comment on the post that I saw, I'm again trying to be very very like as vague or because again I don't want to cause any problem. The thinking can stem from is if like if I made the comment, hey, can you not do that? Right? This is before I knew about fandom spaces or whatever. And someone saw that I made that comment, and I'm asking nicely, like, hey, can you please not do that? And the person's autonomy. It's still not perfect. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. Good old Flosabot. But yeah, so it's just like if I comment something and asking if someone can like not do XYZ or whatever, and this is before I learned more about fandom space, it would just cause more problems for that person. Even if I asked, and then if I asked privately, that's a whole private message thing, which I don't want to deal with. Also, hello, Shep. By the way, but what was your favorite manga slash anime? Your favorite genre? I like a lot of different mangas and like anime and genre stuff. You got a new cactus. You got a new cactus? Sick. W new cactus. What was it? What was it called? Let me do auto crafters. Oh, crafter. That's what it is. Because that can be a little faster. Protect this person's time better than being vague, as that would just make people curious. Yes. Yeah, better than just not. Better than being vague. Yeah. It was from a fan at all. Point was not saying it was from a fan at all would protect the person's autonomy better than being vague. Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean, Killer. You just needed to read that a little bit for me to process, but yeah, I agree. But alright, chat, what should we add in here, though? Now that we're working on the interior right now, what should we, like, try to add into this? That's illegal. Not with Axiom, it isn't. Cobwebs? Maybe cobwebs. It is abandoned, so possibly. I don't know how cobwebs would work, though. I'm glitching out. It's not for me. Looking at the water. We're in interior at the moment. We're doing the interior design. Anything exterior we'll do afterwards, but for now, we're trying to get everything. I can put a brewing stand on the shelf. Like algae. We can use, what is it, lichen? Like, we can do that. Also, isn't there moss that I can use? Yeah, I can use that as well. Do you mind if it's in the whole wobbit stuff? It's I really don't care because it's not really causing too much of an issue within the community. Is this a submarine of sorts? The one I ride for school has a communication pad, one in each room. So it's an underwater labs, like taking into account the like Rust labs. All is going to be fully submerged, so it's going to be a fully underwater laboratory. Resin, right? Resin clumps. Put that maybe on the floor. What is this for? It's for Lagundo's extraction. So, this big old world. That is really, really far, and my render distance is not fully pulled up with it right now. But yeah. You kept doing it every time. Like, you don't have to interact with it. You can just leave it as is if you don't want to interact. Chiseled bookshelf. Bookshelf. We can then put a chest here. Barrel there. And then probably have a bit more moss on the edges. That's the terminals. How would we do a terminal? Yeah, we were going to use tough as well. How do we use it? How do we do a terminal? Camila, thank you for resubbing for 3 months now. I appreciate that. For mod to pin leg server address. Too many distraction, folks. Oh yeah, if mods want to do that, fully go for it. Also, think of 300 bits. Not gonna no, because so all this is gonna have air in it. The water's only gonna go up to here because it's basically a moon pool. And so the idea is submarines come into here, drop off stuff, and then they go out. So that's the idea behind this. Moon pool, yep. I think this is good for now. I do want to add like lockers, so like iron that have like fallen over. Hearing move maybe think it basically, yeah. It's very much like Subnautica. How would I do a good locker that's like tipped over? You learned, but I think it's weird when you talked about for an hour. Having to talk directly to me about it, despite it changing how you view your content. I know it was before you learned about fandom etiquette, but I think it's weird that you talked about my Tumblr post on stream for an hour when I had you blocked, and you seemingly never had the intent to talk directly to me about it, despite it changing how you view your content so much, and I would like a proper acknowledgement of that. Which one are you? Were you the the PvP post, or was it the Civ event post? Oh, okay, yeah. My apologies, I didn't talk to you about it. Again, I fully thought that what I was doing was something that was normal in space, and I apologize if you were like mad or offended. That was never my intention, and I just saw it, read it, and I'm like, that they make a lot of good points, and so I wanted to just do it that way, but I also made it vague because I didn't want anyone to be like, oh, this is a bad take, da 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 da, and do whatever. So my apologies if it was wrong of me in that sense. Did you just go through my account? No, I literally just saw the post. And I'm being like genuinely serious about that. I don't scroll through people's stuff just because I'm like, I don't know what they have on there, and I probably don't want to see what they have on there, and I only just saw the post, so. Both your accounts blocked. I just saw it, like, literally, I don't remember where I saw it. I just saw a post that was being made that was just on For You, and it was just there. That post was sent to you? No, the PvP one was sent to me. The post about the Civ one, it just popped up on my For You page. And I genuinely mean that. It literally just popped up on my For You page. So again, I'm sorry if I caused any problems. It was never my intention. Too much of a fridge. Ways to hide inside. That's why I'm trying to make it just use as decoration. Blocking words, it would not have appeared on your For You. I appreciate you didn't obviously lie. I'm not lying. I'm being genuinely serious. None of your stuff has popped up on my For You since then, but it just popped up there. Chat, you can be nice to them. Don't be rude. Like I said earlier, you don't need to be rude about something when someone's asking a question. This is a proper discussion, and I will gladly time out y'all if you continuously be rude. I wanna know how I can, maybe with stairs? Just confused. It's all good. But again, like I said, people are allowed to have questions. People are allowed to do whatever. Like, quartz might work better. Again, sorry if you didn't want me to see that. Like I said, it just popped up. I haven't seen anything of yours since. Maybe I saw it before you blocked my account, or maybe, I don't know, if Tumblr had a weird bug, but again, my apologies if it caused a problem for you or anything of that such. Was not my intention, not trying to cause any issues. That was never my part of that. Sticky tape at best. It does happen. Blocking usage does not. It comes up on the For You page. Yeah, like, I don't know how Tumblr works. It just happened. Trying to build a locker, but like in a way that it's tipped over. I think the best way to do that is like this. Like it's just, it fell. I wanted to be like a little bit slanted, but. And there's another one of their posts rebounded by someone, reposted by some. If I block someone, I scroll down and there's another one of their posts. I'm guessing that's like reblogged by someone 2 posts down. It's very annoying. I guess that might have happened. That might have been the reason. That might have been the cause. Maybe someone reblogged the post and it just happened to pop on my For You when wasn't supposed to be seeing it. Like I said, I have no idea. Would the weighted pressure plates work? Maybe. Can you make sure there are no indespicable two-block holes in this building? Asking for a friend. No, everything I've basically filled and everything's one by one. The only, like, there's no hole, like, everything is barriered within each other. And so even with ender pearls, you're not going to get into anywhere. The only two-block hole thing is this. And it's not even like a two-block hole, it's just a full ladder well. I'm just sure won't get stuck. I can still see the post. Oh. So maybe that's what happened. Again, I generally don't know how I saw your post. I just saw it, I read it, and I left it at that. Didn't look at your account or anything, so. A lot of people ignore the For You page because it doesn't always work as intended. I see. Well, don't worry, I'm not going to be using it often. I'm literally just going to be there to read stuff and look at stuff, so. Noted. Yeah, I'm not. Tumblr isn't something I'm gonna like look into, so we are all good there. Yeah, lockers that fell over. That kind of works. There we go. I think that works. Oh, maybe we actually add the door. Oh, iron. Like that, so it fell over. People can know from there. All right, cool. I like this. This is good so far. Then we have here. It's best viewed in small chunks. That's fair. So we have this level here. And then I want to put stuff here. Like, I want to just put, like, barrels and such scattered. I'm actually going to go look into the abandoned city real quick. Actually, I can look around in the airport as well. So there's chests around. There are barrels, but I don't know if you can open the barrels or not. I don't know if it's barrels that are interactable or chests or what. Actually, let me ask real quickly. And what is it called? Chat, what are the cages called that are in the trial chambers? Spawner? No, where you get the loot from, not the spawners. Not not spawner, like the things that you get the loot from. Like they look like spawn vaults, thank you. Because I want to know, because I know shulkers and vaults, you get them, but I don't know if chests and barrels count. Because if that means I can then just like plant those around in different areas and it'll be fine. But I want to know, because like we have the spawners there, and there are chests, so I think chests do provide a way to get resources. I could also put suspicious sand around. I could do that. If anyone's played Extraction, or for those who have played Extraction, do chests also count, or is it purely random? Or is it like, or do chests and barrels, or is it just shulkers and vaults? I believe chests count. Okay. Do barrels count? Or is it trap? Do trap chests count? Chest and barrels count. Okay. Count towards what? The loot system. Like, you can get loot out of them. Because so far I've seen legs open shulkers, but I forget if chests and barrels also count. If you want to do that, Ice, go for it, but entirely up to you. Barrels only count in airdrops. Okay, so like these barrels will be fine, right? So like just because there are barrels here don't meet doesn't mean those will are empty and other players put loot in them. Got it. Okay. And what about chests? Do do chests count towards the ability to get random resources and items, or is it again only shulkers? Chest stuff always spawns. Okay, so I can leave a chest there. So then I can put some barrels and some other stuff around. Shulkers are the only special loot. Got it. Okay, so if I want special loot, I need to put shulkers in areas. Good to know. That's what you're... That's fine. I think then I want to come up here. Chests, yes. Barrels, no. Chests are the main thing, to be honest. Vaults and boxes could be rare. Barrels, players use for dead drops. Okay. Because I just got messaged that by legs. Any more dangerous areas? Well, this is going to be a dangerous area. So I want a mix of some shulkers and some chests and so on and so forth. And so that's why I'm asking. Because again, I want to take this concept of being in like a Rust lab. And have items and such in here that are a high risk, high reward commodity. Your fellow man is a dangerous of all. I don't know how this will work, but for now I'll leave that there. So some chests. I could probably use waxed copper stuff as well if I don't want loot in them. And I just want them to be like scattered just as like items. That could work. Can you change the environment? I think Mago Blocks and Soul Sand would be annoying. Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna. All this isn't. There's no Mago Blocks or Soul Sand. All this is just mud, dirt, and that. The best way to basically describe it, right, is if I go here, I get the noise brush, I get my liquid fill, I put that to 51. And then I go here and I make this a really big sphere, and I get water. And I... Oh, hold on. Where is... That needs to be... Nope. No. Here we go. Full count. And I just do this. That's how it's going to look. I can make them weathered copper. So, like, that's what you're going to see. Waxed erodes that. How do people get down there? So, the only way to get down there would be either having a turtle shell helmet, which then gives you the water breathing, which then protects you from the cold. And then the other way is there's possibly like going to add some water breathing potions that prevent you from freezing. So you need items to get down here to get high valuable loot, with also having mob spawners and that also in here. So someone comes after me. Well, that's the point. It's going to be high loot items down here, and so that's why I'm like, I want it to be there with also mobs and spawners and such. Like putting a mob spawner there. And then like having another one somewhere else. Like make this place really feel very dangerous. But then in here you would have like a vault and like different shulkers. And you would need a special card key to get in here. So on PV things with floatives. So floatives right now is we just went through surgery, so he's recovering from that. But then also he is in the middle of money SMP, so he needs to finish both of those, and then we can start actually practicing more. But yeah, like this is gonna be like you want to get into this room because it's gonna be a room that has like basically a military grade armory, like in Rust, where it has a bunch of different stuff that you can use and utilize, and it's very high tier materials. Are you a centrist? I mean, if you're asking like in the sense that am I like I'm very, very independent when I look at my views on stuff, and I'm very centered and I look at both sides, yeah. I would say so. Like something like this, I feel. You have like four shulkers, 2 vaults, and a few different chests in them. To get into like this military grade vault room. Because it's supposed to be like a weaponry area. Yeah. Something like that. And to get in here, you would need a special key. We'll judge you while you loot. Yep. But yeah, like that's sort of the idea. Is like if you want that, you have to go all the way up here, which means you have to get through all of this stuff over here to get to. You'd have to go up and then here and then up and then all the way through here, and there'll be like mob spotters and a bunch of other stuff hanging around. So that's kind of the idea. And this can then be like another facility area. We can put like a room here. Break this off here. Have like a room that goes inside, room that's here. What are your pronouns? He, him. Pretty simple. And then we can put like office space here. We can get some doors. Now, of course, the thing with the doors is that they have to always be open. Because that's how this game works. Then we can't have closed doors. That's a very ominous hallway. Well, the thing is, right, there's also going to be mobs in here and such. And so, like... like a mob spawner will be, like, right here. And so... Actually... Maybe, like, we pretend the door's on the floor. Like that. Like, it fell, it broke, now it's there. Thank you, Killer. Thank you for stopping by on stream. Yeah, for game. No, you cannot open doors in the game. Don't rooms get flooded with this tool? Yeah, so that's the thing. I have to figure out a way to where it doesn't flood the inside of this. I don't know how I would do that. But for now, that's something that we'll come across later. That is a future abolish problem. I could fill it all with like a block, but then yeah. I don't really know how. I think there might be a brush tool that I can like utilize that does stuff. Also, all the decoration in here, if I need to, I can then just undo with like sponges and then like replace it down. I'm not too big a concerned of it. Hmm. Yeah, just something like that. I would. Observer. Huh, never knew that. Called can see sky, but it would mean that it would be under the lab. Also be filled. Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out a way. I don't really know how, but it should be something. Also, Shiny missed reset for 3 months at tier 1. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for subbing for 3 months. Hmm. I need that to be open for the mods to come on through. Chair there, chair there. Put that there just because. Yeah, this is good though. A little bit of office space there, and then we can do the same thing, and I have to grab all these blocks again because I decided it'd be smart of me if I just went, you know what, let me just... Oh, yeah. Shelves. I can also use shelving. That's another thing that I can use. Just for decoration. Like, I can just do that, because why not? Yeah. Like, dirt. Ooh, that's actually a good shout. That was a good shout, Mochi. How could it... It would be cool if the lights could flicker. Yeah, no, that was really, like, a good shout on that. Nope. Closet. That's all this is just a closet space. Don't know if I'll be able to fit this. No, I can't. Darn. Just a closet space. Should be a toilet. It has vibes. Good toilet. Yeah. Door in the toilet. We have no other option. There's no other door, and technically, it has to be open anyways, so does not matter. There's no other door that is like metal besides iron, and that's too white. Like, I think every door in Minecraft, besides a few, how many doors have an opening to them? 1, 2. You can double check. No, we're fine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then every copper variation. 7 out of how many doors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of the 13 doors, more than half of them. I already picked bamboo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A mirrorless looking banner. We can try that. We can try making a custom banner real quick. Gradient and a light gray stripe. Let's go black or gray. Let's get a loom. Let's get dye. Hold on, I think that I need white. Also from around it, yeah. Go white. What if I just had a frame? Better? Greens and a blue? True. Mossy Tommy, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. We're just working on a bit of... That's too green. Yeah, it just overrides the colors. I mean, in the dark, it actually doesn't look that bad. That actually kind of looks good. Maybe cyan? We can try cyan. Green or blue? Chat, green or blue? I think green. Um, I think green fits it more just because the accent of the weathered copper next to it matches it a bit better. Yeah, I think so too. That has to be that. Unfortunate. Yeah, so basically this is how it's going to do. It's going to be dark in here. It's going to be really dark in here. But I think that's good so far. And once again, more rooms. This is going to be a very narrow hallway. Which don't you love? Yeah, players will love that. And the reason why it needs to be narrow is to actually fit cubicles into this place. Let me redo all this. Wait, actually though? I actually have a fun idea I can do. We can actually break this down. Have this be like this. And then same on this side. I'm trying to see something real quick. Because I know this is Minecraft, this isn't Rust, we can't get a one-to-one on some of the rooms, but I'm trying to see if I can actually... fill in? Some of the gaps. Ugh. Yeah, I'm trying to find a way to where it's like Oh, a broken down wall. You could do that. Also, thank you, Chef, for saying bless you. Maybe the wall can be broken here. Actually, it's gonna be weird doing a broken wall. Because where'd the rubble go? Maybe it's just open like this instead. Yeah, that works. See, what I'm thinking, right, is I can do 2 iron trapdoors here. They leave the same room. And then I can also do like a waxed, weathered here. And then I go with the trapdoor on the floor. Like it fell over. Because then we can put a spawner in here. And then in this room can be a mini, area with loot. Not as much as this, but so in Rust there are different key cards. There's a blue key card, a red key card, and a green key card, and each one kind of has multiple uses. Red is the hardest to get, but it gives you the greatest reward. Blue's medium, and green is like pretty easy to grab. So I think it'd be cool to have like this, where it's like that, and it's just there, and then like we can do another one here, like just a simple polished stair with just a chest, and then we can do like this with observers as like terminal space. You just walk on over. I can't put a chest there, that's unfortunate. I can put a chest here though, and then get a barrel. I wish we had like a black colored shelf so I could put up here like monitor screens. I know I could do totally paintings and like do that whole old school way, but there isn't really. Banners again? Yeah, I could do something like that. That works. Okay, cool. I can just do that instead. So, but a bulb is better for this area. There you go. Oak shells. Dark oak shells, maybe? Oh, I forgot. That's the other annoying thing. Because of how shelves are finicky, shelves only face one way on a block. They can't face another direction. And so, like, I can't put a backwards end of a shelf on this block because it'll always have a gap. So you would have to do something like this if you want anything remotely usable. Because they aren't necessarily full blocks. Some can be broken. It's just more for just players, really. Like, I can leave that one on and this one off. The ones in here will be always on because there's like, it gives no light. It generally gives no light in the area. But just having stuff like this around kind of just fills in the parts that are missing. Cool. They're also very flat screens, yeah. Alright, cool. We got a little bit done. We got this done. We got down here done. We did a little bit here, which I think was turned out really nicely. There's a chest there. Chest. Actually, let's do a barrel there instead. Bathroom. Sort of like another work area, workstation place. What if I did that, but then had glass? Like, basically this is a no personnel classified area, right? And we sort of figure out a way to where it's like it got broken down. Oh, there's none of those block. Fine, I guess we'll do that instead. Okay, and then like guards would be here, right? And so you don't actually need to have a key, you just need to do this. Which would be very, very fun, because this basically, mobs can't fit through here unless it's a baby zombie. And also players now have something that slows them down just a little bit, so if they're trying to run away from something or run from someone, they can have this and fight around it. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, this is good. And then we'll start adding litter leaf and everything. Because mobs will spawn here, which means if they need to back away from mobs, they have a way to get at least like fight them off this way. and it's not impossible. Here for the nom raid. Ah, funny. I don't know if nom will raid into me or not, but if he does, I appreciate it. Yeah, anyways, though, we're kind of here for this, and I think that's good. Speaking of a nominal raid, welcome in, nom raiders! Well. Welcome on in, raiders. Hope you all are well. Hope you all had a wonderful time. I'm assuming y'all played on Bannerfall, and I'm assuming y'all did a bunch of Farkle. Mods, if you need to slow down chat to make it a bit easier, go for it. But hello again. Hello, he's rich. Accidental raid command. That's funny. Farkle SMP is canon. Oh, I see. No, we just broke him. You know what? That's fair. Breaking nominal gravy, breaking the Irishman. Yeah. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Abolish. You don't know who I am. I was in a bunch of PoW SMPs, and I helped out with some stuff. And right now, we're actually on Lagundo. I need a nap, man. Go take a nap, Nom. I appreciate the raid. If you need to go raid and run, go do it. But with that being said, right now, we're actually on Legs. Legs' server, Extraction, helping build Season 2 of it. And I've been building this underwater labs base based off of the combination of Subnautica, but then also Rust. And so right now we're doing the interior work, and so I've made like the armed room where a lot of the high valuable loot is. I made office spaces. We just finished making this room where it's another area where you can get some like decent stuff in here. But at the moment right now, we're kind of just working our way through backwards. I hope you all are well. Hope you all had a wonderful, wonderful time. But yeah, so that's what we're doing right now. If you have any suggestions on what I should add into these rooms, go for it, because I am trying to figure that out as I go. Yeah, I think we just do a bunch of storage in here, like a big storage room. Alright. Tough. And then trapdoors. Cool. Decorated pots. Also, maybe plant labs? That could also work. They'll probably be lower down. So basically, what I'm thinking is each level has their own like specific things. Like up here is like military grade stuff, and then like this floor right here can be some corridor spaces and some like where people sleep. This can be a rec room. Over here is a like lunchroom area. And then down here in these two levels, this level and this one are kind of like lab places. So we can have like a plant lab area and like decorative plots, like a mini warehouse. Yeah, in a way. There are probably multiple of these rooms that are just mini warehouses that just have barrels and such in them. Like nothing really too much, but just enough. Residence area, not so much that. Like think more on the lines of like this place is still like used and such, and has items, and it's kind of abandoned but still has stuff in it, and it was used for testing. My theory is that it's basically they were testing what these were. So that's the idea, is they have samples and they test that stuff and so on and so forth. Because basically, for those who don't know what extraction is, let me fly around real quick. My Voxy mod isn't working at the moment, which is a little unfortunate. Actually, let me disconnect real quick and see if I can get that fixed. Let me see if that will fix it. It's big. It's a massive server. It's really, really big. Lower lab? No. Oh, we can put stuff from the purple area down into there. But like the crying obsidian, maybe like we can put some of that into there, right? But unsure yet. Yeah, it's not working. I don't know if it's because I'm using a different axiom on it and that's what's causing the problem, but I don't know. But basically, over here is the main center point of the map. And the story goes that these people were fighting against something, and eventually they walled up around the city. And so everything around has been destruction points and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of the like overarching story. And so this is kind of one of the areas that got controlled. And if you don't know what the game is, it's basically a form of extraction, which if you know any of the games like The Division, Arc Raiders, Rust, and so on and so forth, this is basically those games. Stuff, no, tough. But again, chat, thank you for all the follows. I appreciate it. All right, cool. All right. You got mentioned during Toby. Yeah, I saw. I heard that I got messaged from not messaged. I got messaged that I quote unquote got mentioned in the Tubbo and Luki cameo because Owen said the word abolishment, and then everyone in the stands went abolish, abolish, regret, like, and so on and so forth, which was pretty funny to hear that happened. Yeah, basically, you would start down here. This is the entry point of the area. You would swim up to this. You would then run into here, and then you can go this way, which has the place that way. And then it ends. You then also have all the way over here, which then runs this way. And then to here, which then there's a room here, and just a simple empty room here for storage. This room then comes downwards into here, which then you have this room here, and this room here. And then coming back up, if you then, instead of going right or left, you go up, you go into a, where is it? Here, yeah, you then enter here, which then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this room right here goes into nothing. It's just a simple one place room. This room is like a cafeteria, big area for like cafeteria place. This room is going to be like crewmate and worker quarters where they sleep and such. And then over here can be like a rec room area where they hang out and so on and so forth. And then come all the way back over here. You then run up to here. climb up to here. And then you have the storage area, and then you have this thing, which originally was designed for military-grade protection and weaponry in case of an emergency. And so you would have, like, office space of military personnel where they would work, where they would do stuff. You would have more office space here, and then you have basically the vault, where you would need a quote-unquote red key card if we're basing this off Rust, where you would have to swipe it or do whatever to open this door, which then lets you into basically the main armory room, which has 1, 2... 3, 4 red shulkers, 2 vaults, and some chests. So that's the idea. Basically, really, really good stuff's there. There's going to be some other good stuff like in here, and then another room there and such. But it's very difficult to get into all this place because it's going to be entirely submerged underwater. And if you swim in water on the server, you take frostbite damage, which means you'll basically just die. And so you need a special item like a turtle shell helmet, or Legs is planning on possibly adding some water breathing potions that let you actually go underneath and get into here. So you need some valuable items to actually get into this valuable place, and you have to make it out alive. So it's a high risk, high reward, but the reward is very, very promising. And so that's like the whole point of this. It's like it's a very, very end game based stuff, which has a lot of good loot if you can play through it correctly. So, but that's the idea. But we're gonna call it there for today, because that's gonna be it. We hit right around the 3-hour mark, and I've been talking a lot about going over fandom stuff and everything else, and I am exhausted. So I'm gonna call it there for today. We're gonna do, before the end of stream, the sellout bell. Now, for those who don't know about this bell, this is the sellout bell. It's basically the bell that Technoblade had when he did his streams. And for those who are new here, we do it a little bit differently. You see, you don't have to donate or gift subs or bits or do whatever like that. If you do that, I appreciate it. But the entirety of... We will make a bell room. We will make a bell room. The entirety of the bell, though, is just to continue the tradition of Technoblade by having a fun little rave, and with chat spamming bell and spamming one of us. So, with that being said, I'm going to put on some fun music, and we're going to have fun. And of course, I'm going to do the whole Twitch Prime spiel. Just because it's fun, and just continue that fun little tradition. Bell will not sound like a word after this, because we've experienced this a lot. But let me... Alright, Alright, cool. Raiders, if you're still here, prepare for the fun little bell moment. And I suggest, if you want to participate, do as well, because it's fun. But anyways, chat, let's get this started. Okay, hold on. I keep getting put into survival, so I'm gonna have to make a world and then do this, because I keep getting put into creative, I should say, because I think they don't know why I'm getting put into survival mode. That's game mode. Bell. Emerald. That's super loud. There we go. Alright. Refresh the song. Alrighty, chat. It is time for the sell out bell. You know what that means? I want to see y'all be spamming bell. I want to see y'all be spamming one of us in chat. It is time to sell out. And with that being said, since it's a sellout bell, chat, if you have a Prime sub or an Amazon Prime, That means you have a Prime sub, which basically means a free subscription that you can use to any of your favorite Twitch streamers. It can be me, it can be Nom, it can be Lagundo, it can be whoever, but sometimes people forget that they have one. So if you want, use it here, why not? I'd appreciate that, but if not, chat, I want to see y'all be spamming bell, I want to see y'all spamming one of us's, because it's time for the sellout bell. Bell, 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 bell. One of us, 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 one of us. Bell, 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 bell. Neither nor. Thank you for the 5 community gifted. I appreciate that. But chat, continue to keep spamming bell. Continue to keep spamming one of us. We are halfway through the song. I want to see chat flooding with messages. Bell, 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 bell. One of us, 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 one of us. Bell, 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 bell. Alright, chat, you got like 40 more seconds. Breadwell, thank you for the follow, and Amplify Harmony, thank you again for another 5 community gifted subs. But 40 more seconds, chat, you got 40 more seconds of bell. Bell, 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 bell. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. Bell, 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 bell. One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us. Nameless, thank you for the community gifted sub. I appreciate that. Bell, 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 bell. Woo! And there we go, chat. Hold on, let me just quickly switch that over. And bell at the end of this never sounds like a word. It's crazy, it's fun, and I hope you all enjoyed today's stream. Hope you all had a fun little bit at the beginning, and hopefully it was insightful on fandom stuff and whatnot. Also, hope you all had a wonderful time with us building today, and I hope all the raiders enjoyed the ending of this. As it was very fun, I am glad. With that being said, chat, I will see you all on Wednesday, where we will probably do, most likely, more of this building, just because it has been fun and I need to get this build done with. So, probably going to work on a bit of that over, probably a little bit on Tuesday, when I'm not streaming, and tomorrow. With that being said, chat, we're going to raid into someone, and we'll call it there for today. So let's see, who are we going to raid into? Alright, let's see. Who are we raiding into, chat? Who are we raiding into is the question. Let me see. Who have we not raided to in a while? Yeah, we're raiding to Lagundo. Because they are also building. Right now, Bex is on the stream while Lagundo is away, but they are also building in Extraction. So for those who want to continue enjoying Extraction and having fun with that, that's what we're going to be doing. But join on the raid chat, you can leave right on after if you need to, but thank you all again You all have been awesome, amazing, and wonderful as always. And I will see you all on Wednesday. And remember, abolish your regret. I will see you all next time.